We've all seen people who drive really nice fast cars and live in beautiful homes. Have you ever wondered, how do they get there? I'm Kevin Watson, and I love really nice cars. On this show, we dive into our guest stories of what they dreamed of having when they first started out and how they achieved their dreams over time.
This is The Kevin Watson Show.
In this episode, I'm the actual person being interviewed, and we're taking our executive producer here, Jim McCarthy, who is going to interview me so we can talk about how I came up to have a love and passion for cars.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for interviewing me, Jim.
Sorry that the viewers have to see this side profile of me, but we'll deal with it, right?
I like the hat. That's why I wear a hat.
Yeah. I need to do the same thing. So you and I did a podcast on my show.
We did
months ago, probably about a year ago now, and we share an affinity.
And your show is What's Your Problem podcast, right?
That's right.
And where's that
What's Your Problem
advertised?
podcast for Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals at whatsyourproblempodcast.com.
There we go.
So you and I have an affinity for really nice cars.
Yes.
Late discovery for me, as far as it being very attainable.
Yeah.
I had Lamborghinis hanging on my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
Going back to your childhood, what started it all for you? What was like your favorite vehicle, poster-wise, hanging on your bedroom, if you had any?
When I go back to my memory banks and I think, when's the first time I really was passionate about cars? I remember I got a little motorcycle. It was a 3-wheeled, electric-powered little motorcycle when I was young.
Like Power Wheels.
Yeah. And I love that thing. I got that, and it was so fun. And then I graduated to more of a car, electric-powered car. And then I really got into Hot Wheels.
The model cars.
I love Hot Wheels.
Me too. I was a Matchbox guy.
Yeah. And Matchbox, Hot Wheels, Mom would go to the store and let me get one, and I'd pick out the cool one and I'd learn all about it and know. And actually, that's how I started learning about what different cars were and what the models were. And I remember sort of a sad moment in my life. I had a brown bag of my favorite ones that were all collected, and I was playing outside and left them near the garbage can. And at that time, the garbage people were so nice that they would come up and get your trash can and then take it to the street. Oh. And unfortunately, they thought that was garbage, threw it in the garbage, and I lost all my favorite cars. So, but I've always been passionate about cars, and I've had several, right? And as soon as I could obtain something that I was passionate about, I did.
Right.
My first car, my grandfather was very sweet and gave me a Datsun B210.
That was prior to Nissan.
Yeah, Datsun. Yeah. And it was B210, so it looked like a little Beetle, and it had no horsepower, stick shift.
3-cylinder or 4-cylinder?
I hope it had 3. It may have been 2. Who knows? It didn't have a lot of power, but it got good gas mileage.
Yeah.
And he taught me on that, and I learned. We drive through the neighborhood, and that was just so fun. I just got passionate about that. That was a stick shift. My first car I learned how to drive.
Me too.
Yeah. And so then I went to a Camaro, a 76 Camaro.
Nice.
And that was a lot of fun. And that's
wearing a big Trans Am, Burt Reynolds, Cannonball Run guy.
Well, this was, oh goodness. So I was 16 when I got my first car. So probably 17, 18 when I got my next one. So it was in the 80s, the late 80s.
So you were fast tracking yourself right out of the gate. You got your license. Okay, I've got my first car, but it's not
I had it for a year, year and a half,
and
then traded it to get the Camaro. So I always had that love and passion. I'm trying to think of what car I had up in my house, and I don't think I had one, but I always loved the Lamborghini. you know, the
The
Countach.
Countach.
Yeah, that Countach
It
was just so
oh my
beautiful. And I always loved the Porsche with the big whale tail on the back.
gosh. Mhm.
You know, that was beautiful, the turbo.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what it was, but, you know,
It looked
always loved that. And
Yeah.
of course, you see the 16 candles and you see the Porsche out there with what that guy's name was. I forgot. I think it was,
James Spader.
yeah, yeah. And so I fell in love with Porsche. Weird Science has a good scene of the 928 peeling out in the mall parking lot
That's
at
right.
the end, and I was like, that's awesome.
Mhm.
And then you see Risky Business, and the Porsche falls into the lake, and you know, so I've always been a fan of those. Then you see Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and he had the beautiful Ferrari that went backwards into the woods. You know, so growing up, I've always loved those. Then I got into BMWs, so I had BMWs for a long time and loved those cars. Great cars. Had about 4 or 5 of those, and never really thought I could buy something like a Porsche.
Right.
So I was a little bit over 50 when I
Yeah.
got my first one.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, you own other.
I had other
exotics.
nice cars, you know, but never got into the Porsche until
Now, do you
then.
see Porsche above? Because you have a Ferrari, right? Still,
I had, I had one. Yeah.
Do you consider Porsche to be above Ferrari? Does that
You
kind
know,
of hold the?
I
top
think it's a
spot?
different vehicle.
Really?
You know, if I could have another Ferrari, I would do that.
Right.
Porsche is, I think, definitely more reliable vehicle and more versatile.
Mhm.
So you could take it to the track and wear it out all day on the track and drive home.
Right.
And you can drive it to work. every
Ferrari,
day.
not so much.
No,
Yeah.
no.
It's not exactly a daily driver.
No. And the maintenance is high, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a Ferrari. Hey, you know, and
And they're so picky about who buys them. Imagine having that kind of a death grip on your customers. Where
well, and the ones I've bought have always been used.
that's the progression, though, right?
Yeah.
With Ferrari,
Yeah,
they won't let you buy a new one until you
Yeah.
got a used one.
yeah,
I find that nuts.
yeah. It's
Lamborghini's all like, we don't do that. You can buy a
Right.
new one all day long.
You can buy it all you want.
Yeah.
And so one day, hopefully, I'll get another Ferrari. But
Right.
right now, I'm really enjoying Porsche, and I've been to several of the Porsche Experience uh, deals where you go to Barber, which is in right outside of Birmingham,
Yeah.
in Bessemer, I think, and took my team there, and we drove Porsches all day long and on the track, and it was so fun. In fact, that's kind of how I got my love of Porsche. A friend of mine who was one of our underwriters at Churchill Mortgage, we had a friend that was with the mortgage insurance company, and he actually said, hey, I've got these extra spots for 2 of the Porsche Experience days that all of a sudden are open. And it was like the day or 2 before. And I told my friend Eric, I said, let's go. He goes, oh, I'm working. I'm so busy. I'm like, dude, you don't get an opportunity to drive a Porsche on a track this much. Let's go.
These are one of those things you make an exception for.
Yeah. So we went. We headed to Atlanta, stayed overnight, and then we were at the Porsche North American headquarters there in Atlanta, and we drove on the track with Porsches all day, and it was a very memorable moment. That was like 2017. So by 2020, I had a Porsche, you know, and that was sort of my focus. I was like, God, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get to that point where I can do that. I've always been a goal type oriented person.
Yeah.
You know, I have to have goals saying, okay, here's the next goal. And I really work hard to get to that goal.
What was the next goal after the Camaro?
Yeah. So the next goal after the Camaro, I got an RX-7. I had a really nice Mazda RX-7 with a rotary engine.
Nice.
Yeah. That thing was great. I drove that into the ground. I drove it forever. And then I got the BMW. So then I did BMW for a long, long time. And
was it the 3 Series graduating to a 5, maybe to a 7?
I did it. I did a 3. I did a couple of 3s. I actually had an M3 at one time. And then I did a 5. And then when we had kids, we had an X5. which is the SUV.
Yeah,
Yep.
mid-size.
And so it's always been 3s and 5s. I didn't do any 7s, but I love them. I mean, they're
nice.
beautiful cars and good rides, but mainly 3s and 5s.
When I sold Mercedes, it was Mercedes is comfort and enjoyment, whereas BMW, you want to feel it.
Yeah.
You want to feel the road.
Yeah.
That's how you would differentiate.
Ultimate driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
It's great.
defining moment in your career or life that has significant impact on your success.
The first thing I always give Jesus Christ, my Savior, glory. Knowing Him has always shaped my life the best way that I've ever could be shaped. So, just spending time with Him and knowing Him has really helped me to I believe to get to where I am. And then my wife would be the second defining moment. She meeting her 21, 22 years ago, met her, and she's definitely my best friend.
Yeah.
And amazing. Picking the right partner in life is so critical.
Right.
So crucial to life. And it really makes or breaks your life. So it's a very important decision.
It really can. You can be, it can either drain you or build you up.
Yeah. And I have been through a divorce before that. So,
right. I gotcha.
And that was a 50-50 thing where I was just as much at fault as the other one, and if not more. And so I kind of learned what not to do, you know. And
how long were you married then?
I was married for 4 years before that.
Well, you figured it out quick.
Yeah. And we figured out, hey, we've got different thoughts, different places we want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. My wife and I, we were best friends first.
Yeah.
And we made each other laugh. We had a good time. And to this day,
Yeah.
I was telling my mom on the way here, I had a call with my mother. I said, I got to do all these trips and everything. I said, Courtney hates it when I leave. I said, which I guess is a good thing.
Yes.
She wants me around.
That's right.
After 22 years of marriage.
Yep. Holly's the same way. She hates to be away from me, and I hate to be away from her. Yeah. It's great. She is my best friend.
Yeah. She's a VO artist, right?
She does some voiceover and on-camera talent work.
Nice.
Yeah. So she's super talented musically, and with language. Yeah. Really good with language.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I need to get to know her better one of these days.
Yeah. Fluent in Spanish. Very good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So key habits or practices. I mean, the gist of the podcast is saying, hey, this is, the nicer things in life drive us. We want those things. We got to put into practice the disciplines, the things that kind of enable success. What were some of those practices that you developed early on?
I got to Churchill Mortgage. I've been in the mortgage business 27 years here in Middle Tennessee. And I got to Churchill Mortgage 12 years ago. And I had been at Churchill for a year in 99 to 2000. Went off on my own, started my own company, and then ended up, Mike asked me to come back, and I was honored to do that and manage the branch and also originate. And so, I really give Matt Clark, our COO, and Mike Hardwick, our CEO, credit for a lot of how they shaped me in the last 12 years to be a better leader, a better person, a better father, better community person. Because Matt and Mike talk about mornings matter, and very important to take the mornings and have a routine, a set routine that I can follow. The first thing I do every morning that I get up, I got this from a friend of mine named Todd Duncan. I get up and I put my hands up in the air and I look up and I say, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. And I start with gratefulness. So as I'm making the coffee, I'm just thanking the Lord. It doesn't matter if it's raining or there's a beautiful sunrise coming up. I'm just thanking the Lord. So I get up around 5:30 every morning, and it's just me. It's very quiet in the house, me and the hound, who wants to already go out and walk because she knows what's coming. And make the coffee, do my praises. I'll read a little Devo, and then we'll go for a small little walk. Come back in. I'll do a little bit more devotional. I'm going through a devotional called The Bible in 1 year, which I'll probably accomplish in about 1.5 to 2 because I don't hit it every day. But doing that, trying to spend a little time in the Word and spending the time with the Lord. In a way, that's my tithe. A tithe is supposed to be the first tenth, and that's my first tenth of my day is spending that time with the Lord and getting right with Him. Then I also go through, when I've done with that, I go through some intentions for the day. I have a whole thing of maybe 2 pages of intentions of what I intend to do that day. So I'm focusing my brain on what I want to happen that day rather than just wondering what happened that day. So I'm already setting that computer into motion. And drink a couple of glasses of water. I always try to get hydrated in the morning. And then Holly typically gets up and we spend a little time chatting and hanging out and having coffee together. Then about 7:15, I hit the gym. So I've got one downstairs, and I do that for a good 20 to 30 minutes, get a good sweat. I really feel that's important for my clarity, my mental clarity. And I do that. Then I hit the showers and I go to work. So here by about 9 o'clock most mornings, unless we've got a business group that we meet on Wednesday mornings that I take a little different routine. But most of the time that's my routine. And I think that routine I've been doing that probably the last 5 to 7 years, and it's made such a big difference. I also read a couple of pages in some books as I'm in that morning routine. And that's made such a big difference in my life to set me before 9 o'clock. I've really done a lot to help me, to be a better person and to be a light for others around and to be prepared for the day.
It's priming your day.
Yeah. And so I really believe in that. And I wasn't a morning person, but now I go to bed a little earlier so I can do that.
What does it take to go out? What time typically do you go to?
I try to go to bed around 9:30, just so I can get a good sleep, get up by 5 or 5:30.
Right.
Yeah. But
and you continue through the weekends doing the same thing?
Weekends, I take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I'll take Saturdays and try to sleep in as long as I can, but it ends up being around 6 anyway, because that's just kind of my routine. And I'll still do the routine on Saturday morning and Sunday mornings.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Anybody that's speaking into your life other than God, obviously, God is you. This is the biggie. He's very important. But I mean, throughout your career, other people you gleaned from.
Oh yeah. As I said, Matt Clark and Mike Hardwick have been a big influence in my life, and I'm blessed to have them as leaders here at Churchill Mortgage. And so they've made a big difference. And they've also introduced me to some people around the country that are other branch managers that I really know and respect. And then I have a coach, Cindy Ertman, who's out of California, who coaches me in mortgage training and just being a great leader, great producer. And she's helped me. Todd Duncan is a great coach of ours that has helped a lot. So we have a lot. And Andy Andrews. I don't know if you've heard of Andy Andrews. He's a great influence in my life too. I've learned a lot from him. He's doing some corporate coaching for us as well. I'm sort of a guru. I love learning.
Yeah.
I love coaching and learning. I think if you're not learning, you're kind of dying.
And I was going to say that because you have all the authority and license, as much as I know you in the past couple of years, to do that yourself for other people, which I'm sure you do, and you create the culture here for your people that work for your team. But the humility that comes across and that vulnerability, which I think is massively important, for you it really comes across because you are just hungry for people to pour into you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to be that way, and I ask God for wisdom. Actually Dave Ramsey has been a big influence. We've been to a lot of his entree leadership programs, which is great for business owners. If you're a young business owner,
let me ask you this:
know how to do it.
You mentioned before that you went off on your own for a season, and then you came back.
Yeah,
did that have something to do with the humility? Because
probably,
there's Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it. He says everybody isn't cut out to do their own thing, but it's okay to be a number 2, a number 3, a number 4 in an organization.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah. When I went out, I sort of caught the vision of what a great company could be culturally at Churchill Mortgage in 99. And then I was like, I can do this. And I guess I was probably a little full of it at that point. And so I started my own company called Millennium Mortgage, and I had it for 5 years and was very profitable every year, made great money. That's where I met Holly. But I had not built it correctly. It was built around me, and I was still a producer, but I was also the HR. I was also head of operations. I was also the person that dealt with the HUD audits and everything else that I didn't really want to do. It was sort of like I just didn't even want to do that stuff. I just wanted to originate, right? Because I loved solving the problem for customers on how to buy and refinance their homes. So I got into the ownership part, and I was like, I really don't like this that much. Yeah. So here's how beautiful God's plan is for all of us if we just listen and follow him. And I can't tell you it was that moment that I actually did, but I was praying about it. So I left that, I shut that company down and went to work for some other great banks and lenders. And, but I remember before Mike called me, I was praying and just asking, Lord, I need a challenge. This is kind of easy. I was doing a lot of volume, helping. I was playing golf on Friday, and it was, I was like, it's a dream. I was really bored. Yeah. I like to continue to be achieving and growing, and I wasn't. And
it's almost like a season of diminished purpose.
Yeah. In a way, right? Yeah. And I was just like, this is kind of easy. I'm doing great volume, making great money. Things are good. But I was looking. And so when Mike called me, I was curious, and cautious and curious. And we talked some more. And when I got here, it was definitely a challenge because we had been a company that mainly had worked with Dave Ramsey for we've worked with him for 31 years now. And we've been his only lender, right, all across the nation, and that he's recommended. So about 80 to 90% of our business was from Dave Ramsey leads. And we had not really built a community, of self-generating leads from realtors and past clients as much as we could. So I was coming in with that background, and it was wonderful. What I love is that they actually listened not just to me, but they made that shift from being, mainly leads to now our branch is mainly self-generated, from our realtors who are local, who love us, and we love working with them, and then our wonderful clients. And we still get a good, healthy percentage from Dave Ramsey, and we love that relationship as well. But it's nice to have not just that one leg of the stool. Right. A 3 or 4-legged stool is a lot more stable. So having business coming in from those other channels is really, really important.
Because with Dave Ramsey, it was more consumer facing.
Yeah.
Because I remember a lot of that being talked about to the point where I actually did refinance my mortgage with you guys once upon a time.
Yep.
When you were on Old Hickory.
Yeah. We were on Old Hickory for 20 some odd years. Yeah. And then we moved over to Dave Ramsey's building actually here across from the mall in Cool Springs in Franklin. It's technically Brentwood, but right on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we've been here a little bit before COVID, before COVID, after COVID, so we were here before COVID.
So when did you come here again? Was it 2009, you said?
Here being
Churchill.
Oh, in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right as we were coming out of the meltdown.
That's right.
Things were starting to at least get more traction at that point.
It was right around 11, and I had been here a year before, so I say 12 years total. Yeah. So I kind of lost what your original question was, but
it was just basically, coming out of self-employment, realizing whether it was for you or not.
Yeah, and now
you realize you were
I caught that train back again. I lost the train of thought, and I've caught it back. So what I thought was cool and unique was I was praying for God to help me. And I thought I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I've always done things like that and loved to do that as a kid and go out and just make my own way and make my money. And I was praying to God for this challenge. And then it came along with Mike. And now, the cool thing is last year, Mike sold the company to us. Mm-hmm. So now we're an owner. And so it's like, cool, God, this is the coolest way that you've done this is I wanted to always be an owner of a company. Now I'm an owner of the company that I admired and wanted to go duplicate.
That's crazy.
So
Wow.
It's cool how God kind of takes care of you in those senses. And I believe that listening to him and listening to wise counsel is so, so important. So if you're making decisions or if I'm making decisions in life, it's important for me to pray about it, think about it, even fast on that, and ask wise counsel, people that are where I want to be, as to how to make those decisions.
Failures and setbacks, how do you handle those?
Wow. It's tough. It's tough. Right now it's tough in the mortgage industry because we've had the Federal Reserve raise rates 10 times in a row. Mm. And, they're doing what they should be doing to slow inflation down. So at this very time, we're about at the highest rates we've seen in 22 years.
Yeah.
So, I think it's doing the same things that we've done, doing my morning routine, staying consistent at that, staying close to the Lord. And it's actually opportunities because it helps me learn more about, when it is tough, because, Jesus doesn't ever say when you accept him and you follow him, it's going to be easy. Right. He says he says you have to give up your life to get your life. You have to lose your life. So I think it's those times that actually define your character. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be great when things are easy, right? It's when things are hard that really define who you are. So, I go back to that and I lean on my friends and family and my mentors for encouragement. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And for that hope, because I know this time, this too shall pass. One thing I thought was really great that I've seen from some very famous and very prolific actors, they were all together in a room and one person said, when you're at your high, you're at your best peak of your moment of your career, there's one thing that you need to know. This too shall pass.
Time is an ally.
Yeah. And when you're at your low and things never seem like they'll be lower, there's another thing you need to learn. This too shall pass. And so it's just a time that you look back and you go, wow, that was good. Mm-hmm. Most of the times when I've had failures and setbacks, it always led to something better. I think it's just the attitude. We had a prior interview with my mentor, Mike Hardwick, and I've used a lot of his sayings, and I'll use his. You either get bitter or better. And, so I've just decided to get better every time. And I can't tell you there's not times where I feel like being bitter and grumbling, but God knows more and he's in charge. And I just have to believe and love him and just do the next right thing. Yeah. And that's kind of how we get through it.
There's the small things always just grind my gears. Whenever it happens to me.
Yes.
The big things I'm okay with.
The thing that grinds my gears more than anything is passwords. Resetting password. I hate those dang things. Right. Why can't you just let my password be my password?
Password Keeper. Does he just get one of those little apps?
I know. One of those? I do. And it has helped.
Yeah.
But if I do cuss, it's always when it's something to do with, I know that is my password. You're saying it's not,
For me, it's like, when I'm trying to edit video and all of a sudden something is just like, I shouldn't have to be dealing with this in 2023. This is something that I should be dealing with in 1997. Why have we not figured this out?
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
I get it. Me up a wall.
Yes. I get it.
But a recent situation I've just went through, what most people would collapse under the weight of a situation like that, I'm like, all right, let's do this, because it's almost, I considered it like a rite of passage. I said, these are the situations you got to remind yourself that you can't appreciate the mountaintops without going through the valleys.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
I mean, 2008 was really tough in our industry,
Not for everybody.
And it was tough. And we were trying to figure things out, and we didn't know how it was going to resolve itself in the end.
Of course.
And we got through it. And actually, I remember just sort of deciding at that time, hey, I'm not going to watch the news as much. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to put my blinders on, and I'm going to focus and do what I know I need to do.
Right.
And I'm going to continue to give hope to everyone who wants to buy a home, and to the people, all the people who are calling me that are worried about foreclosing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give hope to these people and let them know there's hope after.
Yeah.
Right. And and 2009 ended up being my best year ever. So it's amazing how the mind can control and can really help you in those times. And I need to listen to my own advice sometimes, but that really is how I got through that. And it did make us better, and we're better now because of that. And we'll look back on this time and say the same thing. And this, historically, for the mortgage industry, is probably worse than 2008.
Really?
Yeah, it's been really hard. And so, we've had some great colleagues that had to move on to other industries just because the volume is just slower. But, the good news is that I've said this recently to my team, is the strong don't just survive, the strong thrive.
Right.
And we're going to be able to build more market share during this time. And hopefully we'll look back on this podcast and go, yeah, look at that. We did.
Well, if anything's true, is the patterns throughout history that you're going to have highs and lows.
Yeah.
2008 was akin to the 1929 meltdown in a way. But, through that situation as well, at least, nobody's throwing themselves off buildings.
Yeah.
Because that happened a lot on Wall Street when all that went down. And Tony Robbins is a huge patterns guy, studying patterns of history. When you realize that everything's just patterns.
Right.
When you realize it's always something.
Yes.
It just seems to get better. You just expect it.
And it, like I said, you have a couple of seconds from the time something happens to you, or let's say it to me. Let me use me. I have a couple of seconds for every time something happens to me. How am I going to react? And that's my freedom right there. That moment in time is my freedom to choose how I want to react. I can either react in a loving way, and I can react in a positive way, or I can react in a bitter way, And to me, let's say someone cuts you off, right? And you're driving to work. Then I'm sure they didn't wake up that morning and go, I just want to cut someone off today, right? They didn't mean to do that. I've done it accidentally before too, so I think it's having that frame of mind. But I also believe it's knowing what you're going to do when you get in that situation before you get in that situation.
Right.
Because I think emotions sometimes will take us one place that we really don't want to go if we were being rational.
Yeah.
Right. And so
at that point, it's just about pride.
Oh, yeah. It's like, how dare they do that? I've been sitting in this line forever, and then they come and jump in. Like, I've been in this line for 20 minutes.
I've earned it.
Yes. It's a rite of passage. Dadgummit, And so it is something, and it's a great exercise while you're driving to do this, right? This is a great way for mental exercise. But it is a good thing. Hey, let the guy go up. You don't know what they're going through.
What's it going to cost you?
What if he had a bad day?
Right.
Hey, he got in. Maybe he thinks, wow, one thing happened good. I got in. I didn't have to wait 20 minutes, right? And I just think if I can do that more for people, and then show them the love of God, and them come to me and go, wow, why are you so happy all the time? What's up with you? Then I get the opportunity to tell them why.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I'm doing that. I have both good days and bad days. But that's my intention every day to do that.
Well, therefore is the nature of sin, right? We're never completely free and clear.
Amen, brother.
Right?
Thank goodness for Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't have done it without him.
Well, as we kind of
No one could.
ramp down work-life balance, how do you prioritize your time and energy?
Yeah. I remember Darren Hardy. He's a great influence too. I've got to mention him. He's amazing. Darren Hardy said one time, there is no such thing as multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
You're either doing one thing poorly and the other one not at all, or you're doing both poorly. He said, but the key is to hyper focus when you need to hyper focus in that realm or area. So I think there's times in life that I've had to do that. I've had to focus on work and career and make those things work, with the understanding and communication with my family to let them know what I'm doing and let them know how much I love them. I'm doing it for them. And then I've had times where I've had to really focus and spend some time on family because we've had some issues we've had to go through, just like every family does. And so I think it's important I think the most important part is to understand when you need to do which, right? And when it's time to go home and go see your family and when it's time to get to work, right? And there's a time for both, right? So the balance is having that understanding and knowing how balanced you are at all times. And it's okay to be not balanced as long as everybody in your life knows that that's a period of time that will pass and that there will be more time for them in the future. So I just think that that's the best way to do it rather than really kind of faking yourself out and thinking you can do it, that you can balance everything all at once. I think that we take on a lot more than we should, and we need some cushion in life, right?
See, now you're convicting me because I feel like all I do is spin plates. But I mean that they're congruent plates.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe that's the focus for me, is that the congruency, it all kind of has something to do with everything.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of podcasts. I do some video production, a lot of voiceover. And at the same time, I'm a partner in a lighting company. You know, it's
You got a lot of plates.
It is, but you know,
and we like to be busy. We like to be, and I think it's important to have that time, that cushion, that quiet time where there's opportunities where we can hear what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can be so busy that I miss what he intended me to do that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, maybe he intended me to call someone that really needed to talk. And I kind of knew it in the back of my mind, but I was so busy that I didn't, that I forgot about it. But I think those are times where God is talking to me saying, hey, Kevin, you know, give yourself a little cushion in life because, you know, it goes by really fast and you don't want to look back and go, man, I should have spent more time, invested more time with that person. You know,
being that you are, you know, you did go off on your own at one point in your life. You are through and through an entrepreneur. You got that mindset.
Oh,
I think I know that of you.
I'm definitely an entrepreneur working for a company.
Because whenever you're in a situation like this, car business is similar, real estate, mortgages, you are owning your own business in a sense.
Yeah.
It's just typically in these situations, you don't have all the other headaches. Somebody else is handling it.
Yeah.
In that sense, I think as entrepreneurs, we also lose sight of playing.
Yes.
You know, even when we get older, we forget how to play.
Well, and when I
think cars for you is probably that.
Well, right? and when I turned 50, that's actually, you know, you kind of go through the mid-level, you know, midlife crisis type thing. And you're like, okay, what's this all about? And I actually had no hobbies or actually friends outside of, you know, church and work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to change this. Yeah. And that's when I started getting into actually hanging with other guys that had cars. Yeah. You know? And so we do a lot of things together. There's a great organization locally called Harpeth Car Club and harpethcarclub.com. Chris Dowling is a friend of mine, and he started it up around COVID. And it's really done well. And we get together, we'll do car shows, or we'll actually go to the track sometimes, or we'll go out to dinner, you know, but just a lot of guys that have common, you know, commonalities about loving cars. And so that's been fun. I've gotten to really meet some interesting and wonderful people. Some of them have been on the podcast and some will be. But I've learned a whole lot, and I've met some new people and gotten a little group of friends that I never had before for a long time, because I was just working so much.
You're so head down,
I was
raising a
just
family.
working and family and church. And I didn't make the time to do that. And I think it's important. It's important to do that and have some of that time for you.
Did your father do that? Do you remember him doing that kind of stuff? Because I would imagine he was probably a hard worker as well.
He was a very hard worker. He was a CEO of a bank, and he ended up being a 2-star general in the reserves also.
Oh, wow.
So 2 full-time, big-time jobs. But he always enjoyed hunting, golfing, and fishing. So he would always go off and get that in. Yeah. Even if he would go duck hunting until 8 o'clock, and then he'd dress up in his suit and go to the bank.
Yeah.
So he fit it in every single time. He made it work. And he had a lot of friends that he made through doing that, So, it is exciting to know that I have a good hobby that I can enjoy and have fun with my friends.
And the thing is, I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to know that it's okay to play, and because I think
otherwise what's life for?
Right.
To enjoy and just look at God's beauty and soak it in.
Yeah.
Because if you're just working and it's easy to get into that.
Oh yeah.
Because you get going and you're passionate, and I love that. You're passionate, even if it's passionate about helping people, there's a point where you have to fill your cup back up.
Yep. Recharge.
And I'm speaking to myself. There's times where I'm like, hey, I hadn't taken a vacation in a little while. I need to go do that.
I think it's important for your kids to see you working hard for them. My kids see that from me, I believe.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, it's kind of interesting because now he's 80, but for the past 15 years, he's rediscovered, like he's turned back into being a 12-year-old again.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It's hilarious.
That's
he's
fun.
got his group of buddies, golf buddies that he hangs out with.
There you go.
And I got an opportunity to hang out with him and his buddies once in a while. And it's like you're hanging out with a bunch of 14-year-olds.
That's fun.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. And some of the guys,
14-year-olds with resources.
Yeah. Some of the guys in my car group are like that.
Right.
And it's fun to have fun with them and see them have fun. Yet many of them are very successful, and it's fun that it started with cars. And that's where I got the thought.
Yeah.
I was like, there's this thing. A lot of guys have cool cars and they're very successful. So why don't I ask them about what their success was and how did they do that? Because my full intention, the whole thing, is for this to go on way beyond when I'm gone from this world and with my Heavenly Father, that maybe the next generation can learn something from this and how to have fun and have nice cars, but give back to the world and love the world, love people, love God first, and do these things. And how to do that, and what better way to learn from people who have already done it, and just taking a couple of those ideas away and implementing them in your life,
right?
And that's where I got the idea. I was like, this would be fun.
Yeah.
Talk about something I'm passionate about with cars, and then I'm passionate about learning and growing and achieving and being better. And so why don't we put those two together?
Yeah.
That's where the thought came.
I'll leave you with this story. I think I did come across your car club one day.
Yeah.
I think I told you this before. Where we were coming back from soccer around here in Nashville. If you are in Franklin, Saturday is soccer Saturdays. If you go anywhere near Downs Boulevard, it's just soccer.
We avoid
crazy.
that. Yeah.
So we were coming back from a soccer game, going down, and we had to get gas. We pull into this gas station, and we just get descended upon with Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches. I'm like, what in the world? I feel like we're being invaded. And I'm in my 2008 Honda minivan, Odyssey.
There you go. Yeah.
And, filling it up. My
Classic.
Kids are in the car, and me being me.
Yeah.
All these guys are pulling up. They're getting around. They're strutting. They got the look and everything. And I'm like, I loudly start going, guys, all right, admire from afar this 2008 Honda Odyssey. I know it's a rare breed, but just keep your distance. And all these guys are looking at me like, is he serious? And my kids are inside going, okay.
They're like,
my wife's going, Chip, stop.
Oh, that's awesome. I would have done the same thing. That's awesome.
The funny thing is that one of your favorite cars is actually a 4Runner.
Oh, yeah. I love my Toyota 4Runner. That thing is just great.
Yeah.
And you can curb something and it doesn't bother. Right?
True. And a Ferrari or a Porsche, different story.
Gosh, it ruins your day. It ruins your year.
Well, with that being said, let's wrap it up. I'll hand it back to you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for interviewing me, my friend.
Sure.
And I look forward to having more of these conversations with people that really have got a great life going, and learning from their wisdom, not from teaching others how to learn from their wisdom, not from their own experience. Mm-hmm. I've always been told that a man with experience is never at the mercy with a man with a theory. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's always important to learn from others' experiences. So I hope that this podcast will do that. And thanks for helping me do that.